Tokyo is a city of superlatives. Buzzing with energy, this vast city is the world's most densely populated. Japan's capital has over 13 million citizens, with around 5,000 inhabitants per square kilometer. This ultra-modern city is one of the most successful and dynamic on the planet. Forests of skyscrapers, vast parks, gigantic shopping centers, artificial islands. It's hard to imagine that the city was razed by an earthquake, burnt to the ground on several occasions, and flattened by bombs during the Second World War. But Tokyo has risen bigger and stronger from the ashes of each of these catastrophes. Welcome to the Phoenix City. Shibuya Business Quarter is futuristic Tokyo's shop window. Giant screens surround one of the world's most famous crossroads, Shibuya Crossing. Everything is laid out as if on music paper, with pedestrian crossings as piano scores. It starts with the slow ballet of the cars. But when the signal turns green, the pedestrians launch themselves onto the crossing. Without ever touching one another, they make their way as quickly as they can through the dense crowd. There's no time to hang around, as they only have 55 seconds to get to the other side. Any stragglers had better hurry up to avoid getting knocked over. Then, without batting an eyelid, the cars retake possession of the tarmac. This endlessly repeated performance is hypnotic. Shibuya Crossing is one of the most frequently filmed locations in the world. Over 2 million Japanese make their way across it every day. In their quest for a buzz, some will do anything, like these street artists parading their crucified colleague through the throng. Shibuya Station pours out its flux of commuters. Businessmen, suburbanites, and party animals come to enjoy the area's hundreds of restaurants and bars. The clientele of some establishments, however, prefer to remain more discreet. They don't frequent the video game arcades, but prefer to play pachinko, a very Japanese pastime which is a cross between a fruit machine and a pinball machine. The first ones were brought here from Chicago in the 1920s. The aim of the game is to insert small metal balls into the flipper at the right time in order to score maximum points and so win more balls. Playing for money is supposed to be illegal in Japan, but the balls can always be exchanged for cash. This is a mostly underground economy, as the pachinko are run by the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia. This is why it's not possible to film inside these establishments. The game is a serious problem in Japan, but it's also a very profitable industry, which sits in third place in the country's economy behind catering and tourism. Shibuya is also the stage for an amazing story, well known to all the people of Tokyo. The story of Achiko, the most devoted dog imaginable. During the 20s, its master, a professor of agriculture, had trained the dog to follow him to the station every morning and then come and meet him there every evening. Unfortunately, on the 21st of May 1925, the professor did not return home. He had died at work. As ever, faithful Hachiko was waiting at the usual place. For 10 years, until he died, he returned each evening hoping to see his master again. The stuffed dog is kept in Tokyo's Museum of Nature, and a statue commemorating him was erected at the exact spot where he used to wait. You can't go through Shibuya without having a photo taken with Hachiko. This colorful gate marks the entrance to Takeshita Dori, the capital's trendiest street. This narrow pedestrian street meanders among dozens of shops. The crowd is dense. This is a meeting point for trendy youngsters searching for the latest fashion accessory with which to enhance their wardrobe. With vintage shops, collectible t-shirts, along its 400 meters, Takeshita Dori is a nursery for the trends inspiring young Japanese. This salesman, with his rapper's look, calls out to a customer. Competition is fierce. Fashion culture and frenzied consumerism are an everyday part of Tokyo life. The ultimate goal is to stand out from the crowd by wearing the latest voguish get-up. Takeshita Dori's exuberant styles and appetite for the fabulous are what attracts its many tourists. Further along, the street leads to Harajuku, a more chilled-out quarter which was adopted by fashion designers and artists during the 90s. Here you can kill time, wandering around charming and peaceful little streets, far from Takeshita Dori's mad crowds. The window display at the information center has an amazing sculpture by a Japanese artist called Colorful Rebellion. It is, in fact, a clock. This eccentric installation, with its bright colors and plastic knickknacks from our childhood, perfectly expresses the unique spirit of this neighborhood. It's a perfect representation of the kawaii mentality, which denotes all things cutesy and childish. For Tokyo's inhabitants are like overgrown children. They love anything that reminds them of their early years, like cartoons and video games. Kawaii culture can be found around every corner. In this remote cul-de-sac, a bronze rabbit straight out of Alice in Wonderland taunts passers-by. Some way off, this building is home to one of the main independent art galleries, Design Festa. Young, undiscovered artists are free to exhibit their work here. Kuze, the gallery's press officer, explains.
If your work is original, you can exhibit here. Our gallery exhibits the work of a great variety of artists. In this room, for instance, we have an exhibition of photos of a ranch.
For over 20 years, this place has been a melting pot of the latest trends in painting, photography, and fashion.
This place was initially opened by a very famous designer named Yuzuki. It wasn't a gallery at that time. They used to have happenings, fashion parades, shows. That was all Yuzuki used it for. Back then, there were only 2 shows a year. The shows started in 1994. But 4 years later, it became a gallery because it was only being used twice a year. But we've kept the same concept, the same spirit.
This place is run by an organization which funds the running of the gallery thanks to profits from this small restaurant. Who knows? Among these customers could be a future manga star. Harakaju's denizens developed their thirst for all things new after World War II, when American troops were stationed in the city. They had established a housing complex for the soldiers known as Washington Heights. Japanese citizens were not allowed in. Thus, the adjoining Harakaju neighborhood became the ideal place for youngsters to discover the American way of life, with its consumerism and plenty, which was quite the opposite of the poverty then prevalent. Further south, this is Omotesando, Tokyo's answer to the Champs-Élysées, full of restaurants and upmarket shops. The Japanese are the world's leading consumers of luxury designer goods. Tokyo started life as a fishing village named Edo. The Shoguns made it their capital in the 15th century. It was not until the late 19th century that it took the name Tokyo, the capital of the East. Asakusa plunges us into this medieval world and the mythical age of the samurai. All along this commercial street, the city has managed to preserve some of its heritage. This bustling lane with a sacred gate at each end leads to one of the oldest and most important Buddhist temples in Japan. At the entrance to this historic quarter stands the Kaminarimon, the Thunder Gate. It's a true survivor. The huge wooden structure was built in 941. It burned down several times. The current gate dates from 1960. Tourists are keen to have a photograph taken in front of the Chochin, an impressive paper lantern 3.5 meters in circumference and weighing 670 kilograms. Its metallic base houses a dragon sculpture. Touch it and make a wish to bring you good fortune. On the other side of the gate is Kanamise Dori Lane with its traditional Matsuri, a spring festival full of traditional traders. It's said that here the gods smile upon good business. In medieval times, people came here to buy kites or children's toys. Nowadays, the stands are full of Pikachu masks, geisha wigs, but also culinary delicacies like mochi. Delicious rice cakes or biscuits filled with red bean paste, made by a robot with typically Japanese precision. But the reason this place is so popular is that this is where people can come in search of good fortune. There are lucky cats known as maneki neko. This shop sells daruma. These round painted figurines, which have no arms or legs, are supposed to make the wishes painted on them come true. One of the eyes is painted at the moment the wish is made, and the other when the wish is fulfilled. Daruma are very popular. Every family owns them, patiently waiting for the day that their desires become reality. The door of the treasure house with its 3 lanterns marks the end of the commercial lane. It was built at the end of the 10th century and completely destroyed by bombs in 1945. Since then, it's undergone a magnificent restoration. Sensoji Temple is Japanese Buddhism's holy of holies. At the side, the 5-storied pagoda dominates the entrance to the sanctuary from 64 meters up. In the central courtyard, traditional booths sell lucky charms. These little amulets made from paper or silk have a prayer inside. Also for sale here are prophecies written on strips of paper which are picked out at random. A good prophecy guarantees health and good fortune. If the prophecy is bad, it needs to be tied in a knot near the shrine in order to ward off any bad luck. The Japanese are very superstitious and believe fervently in the power of spirits and ghosts. A huge cast-iron incense burner adorns the temple square. The faithful gather here to light joss sticks and then waft the smoke back over themselves. It's said that if the smoke reaches a diseased part of the body, it is sure to be healed. Just opposite is the temple dedicated to the goddess of mercy. Legend has it that 1400 years ago, 2 fishermen pulled up a statue of the goddess in their nets from the bottom of the river. They then swore a solemn oath to dedicate a temple to the glory of Buddha on the very spot they made their discovery. For over 1,000 years, this shrine has been the town's most sacred site. But Asakusa is also well known because it was the red light district of ancient Tokyo. Around the temples and shrines here was a hanamachi, meaning flower town. This was where the geishas lived and worked. These 17th century artists, singers and dancers devoted to the samurai's pleasure were also the mistresses of the tea ceremony. The Asakusa Hanamachi is a concentration of private geisha apartments, tea houses, pleasure houses and restaurants. Still today, around 20 women practice this highly codified profession. They put on shows for business suppers. It costs nearly €1,000 to spend an hour with these practitioners of Nippon tradition. Despite the crowds, Asakusa has managed to keep its authenticity. The neighborhood is very popular with lovers of the city's past. In the very heart of Tokyo, surrounded by a forest of buildings, Kyoko is a collection of gardens and parks which conceal the imperial palace. It's one of Tokyo's favorite places for taking a stroll. Beyond the moat is the residence of Japan's 126th Emperor, Akihito. With over 2,600 years behind it, it is the world's most ancient imperial family and one of its most secretive. Its origins are thought to date back to the 6th century BC. Within Kokyo was Edo Castle, the former home of the shogun, built in the 15th century and destroyed by a fire in 1873. But some vestiges of this era still remain, such as these elegant white buildings with their anthracite tiled roofs, or this 3-story tower with its clean lines and whose architecture is very reminiscent of the original castle. This is without doubt one of the most famous monuments in Kokyo Park. Visitors can also admire the watchtowers which overlook the moat. Beneath the battlements, 2,000 Japanese white pines have been planted in the gardens. Herons and ducks happily swim about in the moat. But the main tourist attraction is the double bridge which leads to the Imperial Palace. Its entrance is well guarded. Emperor Akihito, Princess Michiko and their children live in the Imperial Palace, which was built in 1888, then destroyed during World War II before being rebuilt in 1968. It's a modern building which lies just behind this watchtower and is invisible from outside the park. It's only open to the public for 2 days a year, for the Emperor's birthday and the New Year. Nowadays, the monarch no longer has the political power returned to him by the shoguns at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the Meiji era. Even if he is no longer considered a living god, he nevertheless remains of divine lineage. For the Japanese, he is the keystone of national unity. Nowadays, the power nucleus is in Nishi-Shunjuku, an ultra-modern quarter which rose from the ground in the early 2000s. Banks and the headquarters of big businesses have grown up around the town hall, the Metropolitan Government Building. This imposing edifice with its impressive twin towers stands 48 stories high and was completed in 2006. It's the emblem of New Tokyo. The panoramic views from the viewing rooms at the top of the towers is stunning. The city's tentacles stretch all the way to the horizon. From here, you can see Yoyogi Park, one of the capital's green lungs. Further along, Shinjuku Gardens are home to a huge tropical greenhouse. Tokyo is in a state of perpetual evolution. Titanic building sites give birth to entire neighborhoods. After the war, the city metamorphosed into a vast urban center. Including the suburbs, Greater Tokyo has more than 38 million inhabitants spread over 23 districts. Nestling among the slip roads, one can still find a few Buddhist temples lost in the forests of skyscrapers. Nishi Shinjuku has the city's most modern skyscrapers. Like Gakuen Kokun Tower, built in 2008. This fashion and design college is 50 stories and 204 meters high. With the advent of the 21st century, Tokyo became a futuristic city. The planet's finest architects vie with each other to be the most intelligent and creative. The Nipponese capital has become an inescapable global hub for business, finance, culture, and leisure. Between the buildings lie green spaces, parks, and restaurants. This is where you will find the salarymen employed by the big corporations, enjoying their brief breaks. In a country with virtually no unemployment, companies employ young graduates when they leave university. Many will spend their entire working life with the same employer, although this system of a job for life is starting to show signs of fatigue. These salarymen have been the foot soldiers of the nation's incredible economic development since the end of the war. With their distinctive suits and ties, they often work over 10 hours a day and rarely take holidays. A festival in honor of beef is taking place at the foot of the twin towers of the town hall. In Nishi Shinjuku's Central Park, the town hall has set up tables where connoisseurs can sample Wagyu, the famous Japanese beef. Originally working beasts, they are now fattened to provide some of the world's finest meat. There are many varieties of Wagyu, but the most famous is the Kobe breed. Eating one of these steaks is a real luxury, as prices can reach more than €300 a kilo. But it's not just by chance that Kobe beef is so richly prized. Farmer Kameda explains.
Of all the Wagyu varieties, Japanese Kobe beef provides the very best meat. The difference with the other Wagyu is that we are top of the list. Here in Japan, there are 15 degrees of quality. Only the top 2 have the right to call themselves Kobe. All our cattle are Tajima Ushi, Japan's most famous breed, the original Japanese Wagyu. The animal has to be Tajima Ushi and raised in the Kobe region. These are the tenderest parts of the Kobe steer. The meat is full of fatty marbling. And to achieve this level of quality means a lot of work and a mastery of breeding techniques. To raise it within the rules month after month, year after year, from when it is a calf to when it is big enough to sell, you have to pamper it. To be allowed to call it Kobe beef, you have to rear it for 30 months. That's why it's so expensive. We play the bullocks classical music to help them relax. You see how much we love our Wagyu? In order to reach the point where you can achieve the highest hallmark of quality, you have to nurture these beasts with as much love as you would your own children. That's what makes the difference.
Here in Japan, there are 15 degrees of quality. Every breeder has his own little secret. Some Wagyu are entitled to beer massages, while others listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Kobe cattle live like kings before ending up in our plates. But it's not necessary to break the bank to afford this meaty delicacy. Food stalls sell gyudon for the modest sum of €5. This typically Japanese dish consists of a bowl of vinegared rice topped with sautéed sliced beef with onions. A veritable feast that Tokyoites can enjoy with family or friends. A green oasis in the center of the huge metropolis, Yoyogi is without a doubt the most popular park in the city. The locals love to meet up here to relax, practice sports, and play music. As you wander down its quiet pathways, you may be lucky enough to hear Masahiro Takematsu, the musical cyclist. This one-man orchestra carts all his instruments around on his bicycle and stops wherever the mood takes him. He plays the xylophone, cymbals, tambourine, castanets, and even the thumb piano. His joyful celebratory music requires perfect synchronization. Nearby, a dance troupe is rehearsing a dance from the Okinawa archipelago, a group of islands which lie over 2,000 kilometers south of Tokyo. The dance is known as an elisa. It was originally a sacred dance before becoming very popular. Tokyoites may be city dwellers, but they still love their folklore and regional specialities. The Tokyo Underground covers 370 kilometers and has 290 stations. Each day, nearly 10 million commuters use the capital's 13 lines. The journeys are very long. It takes an hour to circumnavigate the town center. The circular Yamanote line unofficially marks out the contours of the center of Tokyo. It's one of the city's busiest lines. It serves the city's main districts, such as Akihabara. In the north of the city, Akihabara is the meeting place of the otaku. This is the word used to designate people who spend all of their time and money on obsessions with video games, favorite singers, manga comics, or collecting figurines. To them, Akihabara is like Alibaba's cave. It's here and nowhere else in the world that cartoon aficionados will be able to track down what they're looking for: collector's editions and the universe inhabited by their favorite characters. Manga, literally meaning grotesque pictures, are typically Japanese cartoons. But their origins are in fact ancient. 1400 years ago, people used bamboo rolls to paint stories using pictures and words. After the Second World War, influenced by American comics, manga characters became superheroes. Their success has never been in doubt, and the most popular manga comics sell hundreds of millions of copies worldwide. Akihabara's shops are also the place where some otaku can find adult manga comics featuring ultra-sexy heroines. Usually, these figurines represent beautiful silicone young girls in suggestive poses. The dolls can cost several hundred euros. On Otaku Road, ever more manga cafes are opening with their employees dressed as coquettish maids. Hostesses coax customers in off the streets. Once inside, they can select their waitress from a list and set of photos. Some of these clubs also allow their customers to take a nap with one of the girls. In all innocence, of course, as it's a matter of paying for a little human warmth and comfort here in a city where loneliness is a genuine scourge. Akihabara is Japanese for field of autumn leaves because for a long time it was a vast tract of waste ground overrun with trees. When the underground station was built in 1890, the district began to thrive before being completely flattened by bombing in 1945. When it was rebuilt, Tokyo students set up little electronics shops in the area. They sold American Army surplus radios and other domestic appliances. Many of these shops still survive in the passages around the station. It was at this time that Akihabara became Akiba Electric Town. The district was the kicking-off point of modern Tokyo. Huge shopping centers were opened, making Akihabara the main meeting point for the city's techno geeks, searching for the latest gadgets. With its hyperkinetic atmosphere and futuristic architecture, this is an unmissable part of Tokyo. This driverless aerial overground train glides between the skyscrapers. This fully automated line was opened in 1995. It was the first of its kind in Japan. It carries 100,000 passengers a day. The train races between the buildings before following a loop around Tokyo Bay. Sitting in the front of the train feels like being in a science fiction film. The skyscrapers gradually come into view. And we have bought front row tickets. The overground then makes its way to Odaiba, New Tokyo. Here too, the city is mutating. New buildings made with the latest technological innovations, whole neighborhoods rising from the earth. Odaiba is a man-made island. Once again, the past is catching up with the future. Originally, Odaiba, meaning fortress, was built by the Shogun of Tokyo in 1853. He had 4 fortified islands built to protect the bay. In the 1970s, the government decided to embark on a series of gigantic urban projects. The Shoguns Island was one of them. Nowadays, Obaida has a surface area of 6 square kilometers. Buildings have sprung up like mushrooms. For all that, this urbanization has remained modern and harmonious. This architectural creation is home to the Fuji TV channel. It was designed by Kenzo Tange, a famous Japanese architect and disciple of Le Corbusier. While Odaiba was ostensibly originally designed to house office buildings, during the 80s the first wave of citizens settled in here. Since then, the area's success story has never abated. The central esplanade offers a unique vista of Tokyo and its skyscrapers. The gigantic metropolis stands proud, like the grand entrance to the archipelago. The Statue of Liberty overlooking the bay is reminiscent of another famous city, New York. The replica was a gift from France to Japan in 1998. It was originally only meant to remain in place for a year, but it proved so popular that it was decided to leave it where it was. The Rainbow Bridge, Renbo Buriji, elegantly spans Tokyo Bay. It is 570 meters long and carries a motorway, an A road, and a railway line. The 2 slender supporting arches are a miracle of engineering. Renbo Buriji is one of the city's iconic sites. In 1996, Tokyo Town Hall authorized the building of shopping centers and amusement parks on the island. Subsequently, Odaiba became a favorite place for the people of Tokyo to spend the weekend. People stroll along the wooden docks, visiting video game arcades, museums, seafront restaurants, and a plethora of boutiques. School children from the provinces can enjoy a day of fun, albeit under the rigors of Japanese discipline. Just beyond this little restaurant is a magnificent artificial beach. Visitors can stroll along the wide sandbank which surrounds the peaceful bay. Every weekend, a host of families come here to relax and take the sea air. It's quite incongruous to see a windsurfer gliding gently across the water at the heart of such a metropolis. But today, the beach is virtually deserted as leisure time is limited. A game of football. Newlyweds posing for posterity. A few moments relaxing with the family, and then it's time to head back to the city. The last few ferries will soon be leaving. This one, with its curved contours and huge bay windows, looks for all the world like a spaceship. Unsurprisingly, it was designed by a manga artist. The short trip across the bay is a very popular crossing. On its way into the city's vibrant energy, the ship sails under the vast arches of Rainbow Buriji. Direction: the heart of Tokyo. With its giant screens and hundreds of neon signs, this is Shinjuku, one of Tokyo's liveliest districts. A giant Godzilla terrorizes passers-by from the forecourt of this cinema. This iconic figure from Japanese monster movies is a primeval creature who, irradiated by nuclear tests, wreaks its revenge and destroys everything in its path. This theme of catastrophe coming down upon the city is directly inspired by the different disasters that have befallen Tokyo. But Tokyo has always risen from the ashes. Shinjuku Station is the biggest in the world. It's 10 stories high and houses shopping centers and even children's playgrounds perched high above the ground. Every day, over 1 million passengers use this transport hub, which is the intersection for the majority of the city's underground lines. Come the evening, the salarymen congregate here to relax a while with their colleagues, before heading back to their homes on the other side of the city, sometimes over 2 hours away. Shinjuku suffered terribly from American bombing. Nestling beneath the overhead railway lines in the twisting, narrow streets are the only vestiges of the district as it was before the war. It's full of typically Japanese restaurants, which can only seat 5 or 6 customers at a time. Each one has its regulars. Among them are artists, filmmakers and celebrities who've made it their haunt of choice. The atmosphere is authentic and friendly, and the food is delicious. Once sated, the carousing salarymen head for another of Tokyo's hotspots, Kabukicho. This is where Shinjuku's night owls play till dawn. Within these tiny streets, in between the hugely popular karaoke bars and the love hotels where one can rent a room for a few hours, the neon signs of the bars and massage parlors display the faces of hostesses dressed as maids or nurses.